All right, ladies and gentlemen, the time is now 7 p.m. We have a public hearing before the council meeting. This will be a public hearing on ordinance 1043 concerning amendment to chapter 205, which is zoning to add personal care and boarding home. I will read a header. An ordinance of the mayor and city council of the city of Havre, Grace, adopted pursuant to the authority of Article 11E of the Maryland Constitution, the local government article of the annotated code of Maryland, and section 33 and 34 of the Havre Grace City Charter, for the purpose of amending City Code Chapter 205, zoning to add personal care boarding home as a conditional use in the R1 and R2 districts. This is a public ordinance on an ordinance that already has gone through a first reading, and this evening there'll be a hearing on the ordinance before it is placed on the agenda in the future for a second reading. I will call on the audience at large. However, I do have two pre-filled forms, and I will call on those citizens first. And so I'd like to call Mr. Joe Kokendorfer forward for first comment. Good evening, welcome to the public hearing.
Joe Kokendorfer, Tidings Road. I have really two items I'd like you to think about on this ordinance, and I think you discussed them somewhat at the previous meeting. But one concerns parking. I think you really need to consider the off-street parking ordinance requirements, since this is a business and will likely generate more traffic and need than just a straight residence. The second item has to do with, I'll call it zoning hierarchy in a way. We have residential zones in Havre. We have residential 1, residential 2, residential office, and residential business. And this ordinance, to me, seems to address only R1 and R2, but leaves RO untouched. By the way I understand the ordinance, our system is R2 is a more intense zone, and it seems as if it should be included as a potential use if you're going to include R1s and R2s. In the ordinance today, R2 or RO is mentioned as being able to have a health care facility, and it's mentioned as a use in RO. Its definition, though, does not seem to cover what I think this ordinance is trying to accomplish. And if that's a correct assumption, then an assisted living facility would have to be a variance in RO, which makes it more difficult for approval than the conditional use approval for R1 and R2. If that's the case, this seems to ignore the residential hierarchy that's been set up for a long time within the city. So, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kokendorfer. I would like to call forward Ms. Carrie Parsons. Good evening, Ms. Parsons, and welcome.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. Carrie Parsons, 840 Otsego Street. And just Mr. Joe Kay actually had addressed part of the issues regarding the R1 and R2. However, there were some comments that were made during the initial reading that the state of Maryland Health is responsible for the overall program associated with living and boarding. It's inaccurate and it's possibly misleading. The state of Maryland Health is only responsible for licensing of each facility. However, according to COMAR 10.07 and associated sub-references to COMAR 29.06 provides a reference to county and city township codes to the building code and enforcement. COMAR 29.6 discusses the life safety code NFPAs along with incorporated state fire prevention codes, which utilize international building codes, which we find associated with your ROs. In City Code Chapter 31, it refers to the International Building Code, except for we refer to it in 2018. However, it permits grandfathering according to Chapter 97. Right now, the city is not fully able to account for all independent rental properties as described in Chapter 147. Chapter 147 has a moratorium of enforcement since 2011 for private and commercial rental properties. However, within Chapter 147, it refers to Chapter 140, property maintenance. Chapter 140, property maintenance, does not exist according to our E-code. It currently states reserved. The last census, we have estimated approximately 40% of the properties within the city is private and commercial rental properties. However, are we able to identify the individual properties outside any RO commercial business as a rental property? And are we able to have an active building inspection program to ensure the health and safety of these occupants? Right now, we rely upon property owner integrity and other county and state licensing inspection mechanisms to provide minimum compliance. The minimum standards for the state of Maryland is initial lead testing and certificate. The state of Maryland defers some, but not all, inspection of operating licenses to county and/or city township codes. Majority of our R1, R2 zones and some of the ROs are all historic district. We're subject to Chapter 97, historic preservation. In respect to the life safety to persons within older homes, the property owner is not required to modify the dwelling to meet COMAR 29.06 due to Chapter 31 and Chapter 97. Therefore, during the initial and subsequent COMAR 10.7 license application for boarding homes, the process of the life safety portion will be waived and deferred to the city. So, since we discuss all these chapters, and are we going to actually start looking at providing an actual code to ensure the life safety of any persons within this licensing of boarding? So, I applaud the persons or the agency requesting guidance prior to forming a business. However, we need to ensure their health and safety and any persons renting property within the city, that they have safe and adequate homes. So that's all that I am going to ask, is that we kindly refer back to our own codes and strengthen them in order to make sure that all people are safe in renting. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Parsons. Any other citizen in the audience wish to address the council on ordinance 1043? Anybody else? Any comments from the council? Councilmember Ringsacker.
Mr. Mayor, Council, if I can assuage your concerns, this is strictly a zoning issue. This is just allowing it within the specific zones. Any inspections that are done, well, the state requires licensing and inspection through the state and through their process. All the other issues about the fire code and everything else will be handled by code enforcement. This is strictly a zoning issue to allow it in certain areas. The rest of it is either in the code or will have to be written into the code. We will address that, but this is strictly a zoning issue. So, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Councilmember Ringsacker. Any other questions, further comments from the council? Mr. Grimm, did you have anything you wanted to add? Yes, sir. Mr. Grimm, the Director of Planning. Anything you wanted to add on ordinance 1043 for clarification?
Yes, sir. I appreciate the opportunity. Councilman Ringsacker hit the nail on the head. This is a zoning matter. This has nothing to do with building codes. Those building codes come into play if there should even be an approval of the project. They would have to then submit their plans to the city, which would then be forwarded to the county, and they would review those plans in accordance with the new use, and they would have to meet those appropriate codes for that use. That is not the purview of zoning. Zoning is simply to determine the use of a property and specify certain standards for the use of the property, whether they be parking or aesthetics. We don't engage in trying to figure out how to take the building code and put it into the zoning code. They don't mix. sometimes don't even play well together, but generally they do. Where zoning stops, the building code begins. And I think that's the easiest way I can put it. Where zoning stops, the building code begins. I appreciate Joe Kay's comments as well. With respect to parking, it's been my experience that there's generally not parking issues with these types of uses. They're very limited. They're intended to be like a neighborhood assisted living facility is what I would refer to them as. And Joe, I'd like to have a conversation with you when you have a chance. I can kind of explain the history of healthcare facilities and assisted living facilities and how we came to be with past Board of Appeals decisions. So I think I can clarify those matters for you, and I'm happy to talk to you this week at any time. But again, this is simply a zoning matter, and I appreciate Ms. Parsons' comments, but I think she's reading a little bit too far into the different code sections in our city code and the NCOMAR. Again, it's zoning. It's not a building code issue, and those issues are handled by the state, the licensing and review of those facilities. That's all I have. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Grimm. Any other questions for Mr. Grimm? Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Well, without any further comments from the council, I now close the public session or public hearing on ordinance 1043. The time is now 7:11. Okay. Good evening, everybody. The time is 7:12 p.m. The date is October 19, 2020. I call to order a meeting of the mayor and Havre de Grace City Council. I will call the roll. Council President Glenn.
Here.
Councilmember Robertson.
Here.
Councilmember Zinner.
Here.
Councilmember Boyer.
Here.
Councilmember Ringsager.
Here.
Councilmember Martin.
Here.
Thank you very much, council. Please join me for Pledge of Allegiance and the opening prayer. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If I could kindly ask everybody to remain standing as I call forward Evangelist Gene Proud of the Proud Evangelistic Association. We are always grateful to have you with us. Good evening.
Good evening. It's always a privilege to be here. Let's pray. Father, we thank you for all you've done for this town, how you've provided all these people who care enough about it and are interested enough in the things that you want to do in this town that they'll give up watching football. Yes, you're allowed to laugh in prayer. Because God has a good sense of humor, and he loves us when we're happy about things. He's not very happy when we're not happy. And we just thank you and the Lord for you, for how you're providing the basis to keep us safe and happy. We thank you for that. We thank the Lord for all he's doing through you. Now just guide and direct the council and the mayor so that they'll have your wisdom and your knowledge and your foresight into what they need to do to best make our lives better. We ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
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 Sir, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate your time. Okay, we're going to move on to item 5, approval of the minutes, City Council meeting minutes, October 5th, 2020. Council, to have a motion?
So moved.
Councilmember Ringsacker, seconded by Councilmember Zinner. Questions or comments on the minutes? Council President?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I received an email from a resident, and I want to thank Joe Kay for reaching out to us. Basically, what he said was, if you look at page 2, there was a part in the roll call where the vote was 4-1. And I think for future reference, anytime we have a dissenting vote, we need to really highlight how the respective council members voted on that particular ordinance. I mean, it may not happen that we need to know that in the near term, but in the long term, I know with litigation from time to time, we go back and they say, well, how was the vote? 4-1, well, how did people vote? So we need to make the changes before we finalize the minutes and go back and look at the respective notes to see how the council voted on that. And if there is a dissenting vote, if it's not unanimous, we need to know who the dissenting vote was.
All right.
So,
Do you want to postpone the vote on it, or you want to vote on tonight?
I mean, we could vote on the minutes. I mean, we could just, I will follow up and make that change. It'd be a minor change.
All right, not a problem. Council, council okay? Okay. Thank you, Council President, for your comments. Any other questions or comments on the minutes? Councilmember Martin?
I was absent at the last meeting due to a death in the family, so I will be abstaining from today's vote.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Any other questions or comments on the minutes? Okay, this is, I have a motion by Councilmember Ringsager, seconded by Councilmember Zinner for the October 5th, 2020 minutes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Approval of the October 5th, 2020 minutes carry 5-0 in the affirmative. We are going to go to item number 6, which is comments from citizens on agenda items. This is the part of this evening's meeting that if you are here to speak on something that is on the agenda, now is a good time to do it. If you are here this evening because you want to speak about city business of another matter that is not on this evening's agenda, we have an item at the end of the agenda called comments from citizens. So if you are here to speak on an agenda item, please raise your hand, be recognized. Yes, ma'am. Good evening and welcome to the City Council meeting. May you please have your name and address for the record.
Of course. My name is Taryn Martin from 302 Squaw Court in Havre de Grace.
Welcome, Taryn.
Welcome. I am here to speak tonight on new business special event, the Holiday Tree Jubilee. So I am Taryn Martin. I'm here tonight on behalf of the Celebrate the Fourth Foundation, a committee of community projects of Havre de Grace Incorporated. The Celebrate the Fourth Foundation is a relatively new fundraising committee of community projects whose purpose is to help fundraise and apply for grants for the annual Independence Day celebration in Havre de Grace. The members of the Havre de Grace Independence Day Commission will still plan and organize the city's yearly patriotic celebration. Celebrate the Fourth's purpose is strictly as a fundraising mechanism for this group. So I am here on behalf of the Celebrate the Fourth Foundation to ask for your support and your affirmative vote for this year's Holiday Tree Jubilee. We've had this very successful fundraising event for the past 2 years in downtown Havre de Grace, and we would like to bring some holiday spirit to our city this year when we could probably all use it the most. Modeled after local Festival of Trees events, this is an event where we ask local citizens and groups to donate decorated trees, which are then auctioned off. In order to comply with COVID regulations and to produce a safe, secure, and socially distant experience for everyone, we have a new layout for this year's event, which is the event you'll be voting on this evening. We are requesting the use of the community pavilion at Frank J. Hutchins Park with the tent for this event. This would allow for socially distant trees and flow of visitors and plenty of space for everyone to enjoy the event. The Jubilee would kick off with a preview night on Thursday, December 3rd, with trees on view and available for purchase by silent auction on Friday, December 4th and Saturday, December 5th, which would coincide with the Holly Jolly event, First Friday. After you approve this event tonight, which we're hoping you will, we will be seeking creative and amazing donations of decorated trees from individuals, community groups, and businesses. Information and applications will be available later this week at the Havre de Grace Visitor Center or by contacting myself or Christy Silverstein. We are looking forward to another great year of holiday cheer and Havre Grace. We thank you in advance for your support of both the Holiday Tree Jubilee and the Celebrate the Fourth Foundation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Sir.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, I apologize, I was remiss. I'd like to make a motion to remove under number 14, old business, A, tabled presentations for amended single concept plan. I'd like to remove that from the agenda this evening.
Fourteen A.
14A, sir.
Okay. Council, I have a motion by Councilmember Ringsacher to table item 14A regarding single concept plan annexation resolution 277. Is there a second?
Second.
Councilmember Ringsacher's motion is seconded by Councilmember Martin. Questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay.
Nay.
Councilmember Ringsacher's motion to remove single concept plan annexation resolution 277 from being tabled carries 5-1 in the affirmative. Okay. Thank you, Councilmember Ringsacher.
Thank you.
We will go back to comments from citizens on agenda items. Anyone else in the audience wish to speak on an agenda item this evening? Okay. All right, we'll move on to item number 7. Appointments. This evening we have several appointments of good citizens to join our commissions. And item A will be 3 appointments to Economic Development Advisory Board, and I'll hand this off to the liaison, Councilmember Robertson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, this evening, I have 3 appointments to the Economic Development Advisory Board. Would it be all right to give all 3 at once, or would you prefer one at a time?
Council President, what's your pleasure? All 3 at once?
I think tonight we'll do one at a time, because I think, I'm not so sure council's ready to vote on all of them.
Okay.
Roger that. So, Mr. Mayor, with that being said, I would like to introduce Mr. Malcolm T. George for appointment to the Economic Development Advisory Board.
Council, I have a motion by Councilmember Robertson. I have a second.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Martin. This is for the appointment of Malcolm George to the Economic Development Advisory Board. Questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
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 All opposed say nay. The appointment of Malcolm George to the Economic Development Advisory Board carries 6-0 in the affirmative. Councilmember Robertson.
Mr. Mayor, second, I would like to appoint Mr. Clark Turner to the Economic Development Advisory Board.
Council, I have a motion by Councilmember Robertson for the appointment of Clark Turner to the Economic Development Advisory Board. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by the Council President. Questions or comments? Councilmember Zinner?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I bought my first Clark Turner home in 1993 in Perryville, and my second one at Bully Rock in 2006. With that connection, I feel it's appropriate that I recuse myself from this vote.
Okay. Let it be noted that Councilmember Zinner is recusing herself from the vote. Any other questions or comments? Councilmember Boyer?
On the basis of her recusing, I too purchased a house from Clark Turner, and I'm just making that public.
Okay. Thank you very much, Councilmember Boyer. Any other questions or comments? Anybody else buy a house from Mr. Turner? I wanted to, but couldn't afford it. Okay. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 All opposed say nay. It's 5. Did I catch 5? Okay, the appointment of Mr. Clark Turner to Economic Development Advisory Board carries 5-0 in the affirmative. Thank you very much, Council. Number 3, Councilmember Robertson.
Mr. Mayor, I move for the appointment of Mr. Richard Wayner to the Economic Development Advisory Board.
Second.
Okay, council, I have a motion by Councilman Robertson, second by the council president. Questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. The appointment of Mr. Richard Wayner carries 6-0 in the affirmative. Thank you very much, council. Item number B, Historic Preservation Commission Board, Councilmember Zinner.
Thank you. I make a motion to appoint Ms. Candace Howe to the Historic Preservation Commission.
Council, I have a motion by Councilmember Zinner. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Robertson. Questions or comments? All those in favor say aye. Oh, I'm sorry.
Aye.
Yeah, I just wanted to introduce
Sorry, I didn't catch it.
Candace to the audience.
Let me finish the vote already.
Okay.
All opposed say nay. Okay, the appointment, Ms. Candace Howe, did I say it
Correct.
correctly?
Yes.
Carries 6-0 in the affirmative. Comments,
Okay,
please.
thank you.
Sorry about that.
That's all right.
Glad it didn't cost us the vote.
So at any rate, I only recently met Mrs. Howe. She and her family have lived here only about a year. They moved to Havre de Grace from Pennsylvania in June of 2019. So I asked her how she came to know about the Historic Preservation Commission, and she was introduced to it by her neighbor and a current member, Kathy Lee, and her husband, Roger Lee. So she initially became interested in historic preservation when her family restored their family home that was built in 1867, and her parents are still living there in Danville, Pennsylvania. So, and this is a direct quote from Candace: "The research involved and process we went through was fascinating to me. My love of history and architecture also draws me to serve my new community via the Historic Preservation Board." So Candace has also spent time in her past in Pennsylvania volunteering, doing other volunteering work. She served as the founding chairperson for the Good Samaritan Mission Center in Danville. And she and her husband ran a basketball program, and she also served on the board of a food program for children. Since moving to Havre de Grace, she has volunteered with the Cat Club and is interested in getting more involved in the Green Team, as the environment is another one of her passions. Candace enjoys spending time with family and friends, being outside, gardening, hiking, kayaking, and reading. That said, it is my pleasure to welcome Candace's application for appointment to the Historic Preservation Commission, and to welcome Candace to Havre de Grace, and we appreciate her volunteer efforts.
Well, thank you very much, Councilmember Zinner. We appreciate the comments. Thank you. Item 8 is going to be oath of office, and every individual voted on this evening is a first-time board member, so I'll be swearing everybody in. What I will do is I'll call first the 3 members of the Economic Development Advisory Board to the front, please.
Yay. Woo.
Thank you, sir. Please join me here. Anyway, thank you all three of you for giving up your valuable time to serve the city. Advisory Board. I think time is very valuable, but especially in the city of Havre de Grace, we had a lot of stuff going on in the next couple of years, and the council and this administration could really use a lot of guidance and direction from the Economic Development Advisory Board. So this means a lot. So what I'm going to ask you to do, this is on, okay. What I'm going to ask you, Jason, can you join me, please? You're the liaison. Okay, Jason. Do me a favor, can you just kind of hold this right in the middle here? Gentlemen, I'll ask you to raise your right hand. When I say aye, three of you say the word aye, but then I'm going to go down the line and you say your name. All three of us repeat it. So, I, Richard Ware, do solemnly swear that I will fulfill the requirement of the office I'm about to assume State of Maryland. And support the laws. Constitution thereof. That I will faithfully and impartially. Without fear of favor or prejudice. Discharge the duties. As a member of the Havre Economic Development Advisory Board. Best of my ability. Gentlemen, congratulations. Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Wait.
I need the three of you real quick. Clark, come over here. Each of you want to
Hey,
sign
Jason,
something.
smile.
Jason.
What'd I do? What'd I do?
Clark is yours. Everybody that's served. Thank you, sir.
I don't go anywhere yet. We got one more photo.
George? Archives? Appreciate it.
Can you stay up here for 1 second?
Thanks for serving. Get your law list together. Okay. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Appreciate it. Okay, glad to see you. Ms. Howe?
Is it hot? Try that again.
What's that?
I don't think it works. The mic. Try it again.
Does the microphone work? Yeah, I can hear it.
Yeah, okay.
Well, thank you very much for stepping up and serving on the Historic Preservation Commission. Great group of people, near and dear to my heart. And very historic town. I'll keep you busy. So, Ms. Howell, I say your last name correct. Okay. I'm going to ask you to raise your right hand. And I'm going to say the word I. And if you say the word I, then say your name. Okay? I
Hi, Candace.
do solemnly swear that I will fulfill
Fulfill
the requirement of the office I'm about to assume.
this I'm about to.
That I will support the Constitution. I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the state of Maryland. Support the laws. Constitution thereof. That I will faithfully and impartially.
Faithfully and
Without fear of favor or prejudice.
without fear or favor or prejudice.
Discharge the duties. A member of
Member of
Havre Historic Preservation.
Grace Historic Preservation Commission.
That's my ability.
Thank you.
Very much. There, if I could ask you to sign something for me. Okay, we're going to move on with the agenda. We will go to recognitions, item number 9. This evening, we have no recognitions. Item 10, proclamations. This evening, we have no proclamations on the agenda. Item 11, we do have an item A, a presentation. Project Aware. I'd like to call forward Miss Cindy Rosbell. Did I say your last name correctly? Oh, okay, all right. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
My apologies. Welcome.
Thank you. So I have some slides that I prepared. We were in town doing some scuba diving on October 11th. So I wanted to tell you a little bit about what we were doing. So you can go to the next slide. So we are One Ocean Scuba. We're a full-service PADI dive shop in Silver Spring, Maryland. We have a lot of activities like kids clubs, scuba and snorkeling classes, adventure travel, but the heart of our mission is really marine conservation. So we work with a nonprofit called Project Aware. We'll go to the next slide. Project Aware, we teach several classes through their curriculum. Some of them are for divers, some are for snorkelers, some are for just people who love the ocean. And our mission is, we really believe when we bring people together, like people that love the ocean, anything is possible. So we focus on one of their classes called Dive Against Debris. And this is a global underwater marine survey. So what we do is we work with them to drop down, we collect marine debris that we find, and we survey it, we categorize it, and then we upload that data to them. So slide 4. We'll talk about why marine debris is a problem. Marine debris is just basically all of our trash that makes its way to the ocean. So we see a lot of common items like plastic bags, food wrappers, drink bottles, those kinds of things. So we collect those. But there are also some random items that we come across, like car batteries, kitchen appliances have been found down there, and tires, those kinds of things. 70% of the marine debris that makes its way into the ocean will actually sink to the bottom. So for a lot of people, that's out of sight, out of mind. But for scuba divers, that puts us in a really unique position to make a difference. So next slide. So what we do is we come, we find a site that is special to us, and we go down, we see if we find any debris. Sometimes we don't, but if we do, we bag it up, we weigh it, and once we're back on shore, we sort it out into categories like plastic, rubber, metal, and then we record what we found. And then we dispose of it properly. If it's recyclable, we make sure it gets recycled. Trash, we take it away. And then we actually have an app where we can upload our data right there before we even leave the dive site. And that kind of data is important for making policy changes, for knowing where marine debris is a problem, and really just to shape attitudes so that that marine debris doesn't even make its way to the water in the first place. So those are the 5 steps we went through. Here are some results from our Green Street location on October 11th. There was not a lot down there. It's pretty clean, which we love to see. But we did find some plastic bottles, a couple shoes, a little bit of fishing line, and some metal pieces. So this is what we pulled up. And so we're looking forward to coming back monthly if we're able. And we just appreciate the opportunity to put our mission into action here in Havre de Grace. Any questions?
Yeah, I just want to say that's wonderful. You didn't happen to find a 2012 Android phone down there, did you?
No, but we did find a charger, so.
Okay, all right. Well, I didn't lose my charger that day. But, no, when Patrick told me about the request to come up and dive the waters, we were really excited about it because, you know, we try everything we can to be the best stewards we can be to not only the shore, but the water. And as a former PADI diver, it's been 30 years since I was certified, but I've done quarry diving, but I've never dove the river, so I really admire the braveness to jump in that water with a little bit of visibility and clean up our shoreline. So I just wanted to tell you that as often as your dive club wants to come up to our city and dive our shores, we really appreciate your efforts to clean up our water.
Thank you so much. We really
So-
appreciate being invited.
Absolutely. Any other questions or comments from the council? Yes.
Hi. I want to say wonderful. This is kind of interesting. And I want to connect you to some organizations here
Okay.
within Havre Grace. We have a very active green team
Oh, excellent.
with a very active website as well.
Okay.
If you, we'll figure out a way to connect the two of you guys, because this goes hand in hand with what they're doing as far as their reduce, recycle, and et cetera. But we also have a very active, the Cat Club. And I think combining them as well, I think the Cat Clubs is Citizens Against Trash.
Okay.
And they're very active here in Havre Grace, do an incredible job, have a large amount of volunteers. And in fact, I think they were going to have a shoreline cleanup that might have been hampered by the rain. I think that's what happened to the shore. So maybe if there's a way that we can probably even like match all of
That would
that
be
up
excellent.
and make a perfect thing to have a shoreline cleanup going along at the same time as you have a
That would be wonderful.
shore, the water cleanup. And then how are people, if people want to volunteer to help, how do they volunteer with your group?
Yes, if they are already scuba divers, then absolutely. We can just show them the slides, give them a little information about how to gather debris and log it, and they can actually get a PADI certification for that. There'll be a Dive Against Debris diver, and they're welcome to join us at any time. If they're not already divers, we can certainly help them take the class and go that route.
And do they make the connection through www.projectaware.org?
No, the one on the bottom, One Ocean Scuba.
The
So
One
that's our
Ocean
local.
Scuba?
Yeah,
Okay. So One Ocean Scuba, that's how they'll be able to connect to you.
absolutely.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity.
Yes, Councilmember Zinner?
Thank you. We also have a yearly project called River Sweep, and that's sponsored by the Heritage Greenway. Now, this year it was called off because of COVID, but the director recently put out a message to ask people to kind of do it on their own with a smaller group, because the director gets quite a few people, and they work on both sides of the river, on the Perryville side and on the Havre de Grace side, and it's a pretty big event. Generally, it's held in April.
Okay,
But that's another group that I think you could partner with,
that would be wonderful.
because they pull a lot of stuff as they can reach. They don't do
Right.
scuba diving, but as they can reach out of the river. And it's, when you see it, it's really a tremendous amount of waste
Really
that
is.
comes out, including some of those bigger items that you mentioned. So I think that would be a good group.
We would love to do that.
And
Absolutely.
the director's name is Bernadette Cardy, C-A-R-D-Y. And it's the Heritage Greenway Foundation.
Okay, and River Sweep.
And the River Sweep was the event.
Okay,
They do other things, but River Sweep is that event.
great.
Thank you. Cindy, thank you very much for taking your time to come up here this evening.
Pleasure, thank you.
We appreciate all you do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, item 12, resolutions. This evening, we have no resolutions on the agenda. Item 13, ordinances. We have ordinance 1032 concerning deed of dedication for Bully Rock Parkway. This will be a second reading on 1042, and I'll hand this off to the council president.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I make a motion to introduce for second reading and approval ordinance 1042 concerning the deed of dedication for Bully Rock Parkway.
Second.
Council, I have a motion by the council president, second by Councilmember Ringsacher. This is a motion to introduce an ordinance. Questions or comments on the introduction? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion to introduce ordinance 1042 on second reading carries 6-0 in the affirmative. This is an ordinance by the mayor and city council of the city of Havre de Grace, Maryland, adopted pursuant to the authority of Article 11E of the annotated, of the Maryland Constitution and local government article of the annotated code of Maryland. City charters, sections 33, 34, 65, 66, and 73, concerning a deed of dedication for 2.17 acres, more or less, off of Bully Rock Parkway in the area of Bully Rock Water Tower. Council, I have a motion to adopt this ordinance on second reading.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by the council president, second by Councilmember Boyer. Questions or comments on 1042? Council President.
I just want to reinforce, as stated, the respective property associated with this ordinance is in the area of the Bully Rock Water Tower, and it is approximately 2.17 acres. The current owner has determined that the parcel has no value to the current ownership and is offering the land to the citizens of Havre de Grace.
Thank you very much, Council President. Any other questions or comments? Okay, Council, I'm going to do a roll call vote on this ordinance. Councilmember Ringsacker?
Yes.
Councilmember Zinner?
Yes.
Councilmember Boyer?
Yes.
Councilmember Robertson?
Yes.
Councilmember Martin?
Yes.
Council President Glenn?
Yes.
By roll call vote of 6-0 in the affirmative, ordinance 1042 is adopted on second reading. Thank you very much, Council. We'll go on to item B, an ordinance concerning an amendment to the City Code, Chapter 99, Incentive Conversion Program. This is a first reading. And I'll hand this off to Councilmember Ringsager.
Mr. Mayor, Council, citizens, I make a motion to introduce an ordinance concerning amendment to City Code Chapter 99 Incentive Conversion Program for first reading.
Council, I have a motion by Councilmember Ringsager. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Martin. This is a motion to introduce an ordinance on first reading. Questions or comments on the introduction of this ordinance? All those in favor say aye.
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 All opposed say nay. Motion to introduce an ordinance carries 6-0 in the affirmative. I will read a header and assign this a number. So council, this is going to be ordinance 1044, 1044. An ordinance of the mayor and city council of the city of Havre de Grace, adopted pursuant to the authority of Article 11E of the Maryland Constitution, local government article of the annotated code of Maryland, and sections 33 and 34 of the Havre de Grace City Charter for the purpose of amending City Code Chapter 99, Incentive Conversion Program. Council, I have a motion to adopt ordinance 1044 on first reading.
So moved.
Second.
Councilmember Ringsacker, seconded by Councilmember Martin. Questions or comments before I take the roll call vote on ordinance 1044? Councilmember Ringsacker.
Mr. Mayor, Council, we currently have an existing ordinance for an incentive conversion program. What it does is we have several houses that were one time converted into duplexes instead of single-family homes, and we're giving an incentive program to convert them back. What this amendment does is expands the geographic area covered by the incentive conversion program, and it also limits the, restricts the incentive to not exceed the annual property tax or the amount of improvements on the dwelling.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Ringsacker. Any other questions or comments? Okay, Council, this is going to be the roll call vote on ordinance 1044. Councilmember Robertson.
Yes.
Councilmember Ringsacker.
Yes.
Council President Glenn.
Yes.
Councilmember Martin.
Yes.
Councilmember Zinner.
Yes.
Councilmember Boyer.
Yes.
By roll call vote of 6-0 in the affirmative, ordinance 1044 concerning an amendment to the City Code Chapter 99 Incentive Conversion Program is adopted on first reading. Council President, when would you like to have the public?
I recommend that we do a public hearing November 2nd at 7 p.m.
Okay, that will be the next council meeting, correct? All right.
That is correct.
Public hearing on ordinance 1044 will take place here at City Council chambers prior to the next City Council meeting on November 2nd at 7 p.m. Thank you. Okay. Item 14, old business. We had one item that was tabled, or I'm sorry, removed from the agenda. Item 15, new business. We have two items. One is a proposed budget amendment, 2021-02. Councilmember Robertson.
Hey, good evening again, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, I move to introduce budget amendment 2021-02.
Council, I have a motion by Councilmember Robertson. Do I have a second?
Second.
Go ahead, Carolyn.
Seconded by Councilmember Zinner. Questions or comments on the budget amendment? Councilmember Robertson.
Mr. Mayor, just for the viewing public, so there was an issue with the fuel tanks that are underground there at the marina, and it had already been scheduled to allocate about $20K in FY21 to get some of the engineering done, and as it turns out, the fuel tanks are a lot worse off than what was anticipated originally. So this is basically moving some of the fund balance in the general fund into the line item that was already available for FY21 for the engineering, and this is going to be, well, on top of the permitting, which was the original fund usage, this will include the engineering as well. So it takes the total from the $20K that was originally proposed and adopted in the FY21 budget to $45,300, which is needed for the permitting and the engineering.
Thank you very much for the explanation, Councilmember Robertson. Council, do you have any questions or comments? All right. I'm going to do a roll call on the budget amendment. Councilmember Robertson.
Yes.
Councilmember Zinner.
Yes.
Councilmember Martin.
Yes.
Council President Glenn.
Yes.
Councilmember Ringsacker.
Yes.
Councilmember Boyer.
Yes.
Councilmember Robertson, would you like to read the numbers into the record?
No, but I will. In the from column, account number 08-1809-49-02, fund balance, 25,300. In the to column, account number 08-1839-6501, fuel tank dispenser replacement, $25,300.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Robertson. By a roll call vote of 6-0 in the affirmative, this budget transfer amendment is approved. Mr. Doherty, Director of Finance, were the numbers correct from Councilmember Robertson? Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. Okay, I hope so, because I think you gave them to him, so. Thank you, Mr. Doherty. Thank you very much, Councilmember Robertson. Okay, new business item B, special events. We have two special events. We have the Holiday Tree Jubilee and the Holly Jolly First Friday. Mr. Seipel, Holiday Tree Jubilee.
Yes, sir. The Holiday Tree Jubilee. This wonderful event is sponsored by Celebrate the Fourth Foundation, a committee within the Community Projects of Havre Grace, Inc. This is a multi-day event located at the Community Pavilion, found at Frank J. Hutchins Memorial Park. They wish to begin setting up on Thursday, December 3rd at 11 a.m., and it'll last for most of the day. The event occurs on Thursday evening, December 3rd, from 6 p.m. until 8 p.m. on Friday. December 4th, it'll run from 4 to 8, and on Saturday, December 5th, it'll operate from 1 until 4. The cleanup begins immediately following the closing on Saturday. They have submitted a COVID-19 plan which is consistent with CDC guidelines, and we have received approval from Harford County Health Department. Prior to the event, a volunteer meeting will be held to orient the volunteers to the event layout as well as the COVID-19 plan. No alcohol will be sold or dispensed at this event. There will be a 50-50 raffle, maybe more than one. Public Works expenses are $1,104. There are no police department expenses, as they will incorporate this into their routine patrols. The anticipated attendance is approximately 200 over the 3 days, with no more than 150 people in the venue at any time to ensure proper social distancing is adhered to. There is no rain date for this event.
Thank you very much, Mr. Seipel. Council, now have a motion to approve the holiday tree jubilee.
So moved.
Second.
Councilmember Martin, seconded by Councilmember Boyer. Questions or comments?
I got one.
Council President?
This is a great event year after year, no doubt about it. But one of my concerns going in is that some of these trees, people think outside the box with some of these trees, and the question is, how are we going to secure the trees in the evening hours when the event's not going on? Well, whoever.
So, since this is a new venue and a new place, we don't have all those details worked out. However, I am confident in working with the Director of Administration, Patrick Seipold, and I've been in contact already with Chief Walter, that we will have both city services as well as, we have a meeting tomorrow night. We were waiting for approval from you before we went further, a private security personnel as well.
It's just a great event year after year, and I hate to see anything happen to.
Oh, we feel the same way, so that's part of our plan.
Okay.
I just can't give you the exact who's, what, and where's, but it's on our list of things to take care of.
I'm satisfied as long as it's on the radar screen.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Yep, we'll have it covered.
Yeah, between, we can button the tent up, the sides come down, we have cameras down at Hutchins Park, we will have them, regular police patrols the other night, we'll figure it out.
Good.
Yeah, we'll work it out.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Councilmember Robertson?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to take a second to thank all of the volunteers here in Havre de Grace. This event and how you guys are planning it is just a testament to how our volunteers, how our community organizations, how our businesses can really adapt and roll with the punches as we're all trying to learn and navigate this, I hate the term new normal, but this current situation, right? So I just want to commend you guys and commend all of our volunteers, and yeah, that's it.
Thank you for your comments, Councilmember Robertson. Any other questions or comments? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
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 All opposed say nay. Holiday Tree Jubilee for December 3rd to December 5th, 2020, to be held at the Community Pavilion at Hutchins Memorial Park is approved. 6-0 in the affirmative. Thank you very much, Council. Mr. Seipold.
The next event for your consideration is our Holly Jolly First Friday, sponsored by the City of Havre de Grace. This year's event will have a different choreograph as compared to Holly Jollies of the past, and that we will not have a parade this year due to our concerns regarding COVID-19. However, Santa will light the tree at Rochambeau Plaza. There will be street closures similar to our First Fridays, namely St. John's and North Washington Streets, and no parking on those closed streets. There will be vendors on the streets, though adequate spacing is incorporated to again facilitate social distancing. Setup will begin on Friday, December 4th at 2 p.m. The event begins at 4 o'clock and ends at 8, with breakdown occurring immediately after the event to facilitate the streets reopening at 8:30. Alcohol will be sold inside the restaurants. There will not be any beer gardens at this event. The Public Works expenses are $6,780. The expenses for PD are $584.50. There is a rain date set for this event, which Councilmember Martin may interject momentarily when I'm finished reading. The rain date would be, if he does make a motion and it's approved, would be on Saturday, December 5th at the same time. Since there's not a parade involved, it would seem foolish to go through all this preparation and not have the event, weather permitting. The anticipated attendance, we think, could be as high as 3,000. The COVID plan includes social distancing of vendors and the requirements of wearing masks for all the visitors and participants, as well as hand sanitizing stations. Our plans have received approval from the Harford County Health Department, and we'll continue to work with them as as it unfolds and we move further down into the season.
Thank you very much, Mr. Seipel. Council, do we have a motion to approve Holly Jolly First Friday?
So moved.
Councilmember Martin, do I have a second?
Second.
A second from Councilmember Robertson. Questions or comments? Councilmember Martin.
Imagine that. I would like to make a friendly amendment to this event to add the Saturday, December 5th rain date to the event.
Council, I have a motion by Councilmember Martin. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Zinner. This is a motion for a rain date of December 5th. Yes.
Question.
I'm sorry, what?
I have a question.
Sure.
So if we have a rain date, do we need a rain date?
No, I don't think the tree jubilee is affected by it.
No.
It's in a tent.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments on the rain date?
If it's really cold, do we need a snow date?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay.
But what if it rains on both days?
We go hide under the tent.
Rain date of December 5th, 2020 is approved for the Holly Jolly First Friday. Okay, back to the event. Any other further questions or comments on the event? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Holly Jolly First Friday for December 4th, 2020 is approved, 6-0 in the affirmative. Thank you very much, Council. I did want to say quickly that the Holly Jolly First Friday normally has a parade that goes with the event. We've had it for many, many years now. That's probably one of the biggest things that held up the administration and the tourism department that coordinates the parade from getting on the agenda up until this point. We were just waiting to see what the COVID metrics were going to be and how to do the parade, if it was a walking parade, just a vehicle parade. Spent hours in discussion about how to pull this off safely. And we felt at the end of the day that a parade just makes people gravitate towards the curb and get close together. And the city didn't want to have an event in which we were forcing people kind of inadvertently to be closer than they want to be in this COVID environment. So at the end of the day, we figured, well, if we didn't have the parade, that kind of really loosens things up and it kind of turns into a First Friday atmosphere where, you know, all these open streets are wide open to the public with vendors spread out, and people can kind of just on their own keep their own social distancing from one another as they walk through the streets. So we feel without the parade, it kind of gives people a little more liberty to do their best to social distance rather than crunch everybody together. So I just wanted the public to know that we didn't just easily discount the parade. The parade's a big part of it. The parade is where our community gets to showcase itself. But again, you know, it's 2020 and it's not the first thing to be canceled, right? So we just want everybody to be safe on that evening. And we're gonna have a really, really nice evening that night. There's gonna be some more lights than we've ever had downtown. So we hope everyone comes out. There won't be parade, but there will be 4 hours worth of walking around with your family. There'll be food, there'll be vendors, there'll be crafts, there'll be music, Christmas carolers, there'll be a stage set up. So there'll be a magnificent tree lighting. And so that's, you know, just want to let everybody know that this program will return to normal next year, hopefully. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, council, for approving the event. So we're going to go to item number 16, Director's Report. We're going to start with Mr. Seipel.
Thank you, Mayor, and I'd like to echo your sentiments and thank the council for approving both of those fun events. Really speaks to the people's spirits. We're getting into this holiday time. Just keep your mask on, that's all. And for folks at home, take a moment to get your pen and paper out, and you can rewind this YouTube a couple of times if you need to. There are many events going on as we enter into our holiday season, so I don't want you to miss any of the information. It will also be posted on our website when I'm finished here this evening. Dust off your old mitt and softball uniform and join the ladies of the Seroptimists of Havre Grace for their first fundraising movie night. This event will be hosted at the State Theater of Havre Grace, showing an all-time favorite movie, A League of Their Own. Showtime is 6 p.m. on Thursday, October 22nd. For more information and or if you have questions, please email the Seroptimist at seroptimisthdg@gmail.com. On Saturday, October 24th, the Havre Grace Arts Collective presents the classic movie Poltergeist, directed by Toby Hooper and produced by Steven Spielberg. This movie is certain to scare the bejeebies out of you, whatever they are. For more information, please visit their website at hdgoperahouse.org. The movie is rated PG-13. Also on Saturday, October 24th, come for some frightfully fun Halloween science experiments at the Havre Grace Maritime Museum. They have some of the spookiest, squishiest, slimiest science experiments that are fun for everyone. There will be 4 outdoor sessions with a maximum of 10 participants per session. This is a great event for children 5 years and older. RSVP by email at envirocenter@hdgmm@gmail.com. Again, I remind you, you will be rewinding this YouTube video to get all these emails. Celebrate Halloween in Havre Grace on Friday, October 30th from 4 p.m. until 7. Stop by the Havre Grace Visitor Center at 450 Pennington Avenue to have your costume judged. Judging is being performed by Havre Grace Parks and Recreation. Cash prizes will be mailed to the winners. Then visit the numerous downtown businesses, over 40 of them thus far, participating in Trick or Treat. They will have signs in their windows, and or you can pick up the list of participating businesses at the Visitor Center. Also on Friday, from 6 until 8, it's Hocus Pocus Movie Night at the Seaplane Base. Dress up in your most wicked Halloween costumes for a owe it to yourself and your, great trick-or-treat experience. For more information, call 410-939-3003. Also on Friday, it's free movie night at the Whedon Elliott VFW Post, 8126, located at 300 Lodge Lane. Movie night begins at 7:30. Bring your ghosts, goblins, and ghouls to watch Casper, the Friendly Ghost, Under the Stars. Don't forget to bring your lawn chair and blankets to sit on. For more information, please call 410-939-4578. Also on that same night, yes, Friday night, it's Rogue Swan will be streaming live from Havre Grace Opera House beginning at 8 p.m. Rogue is ready for a spooky season. Join virtually for this 100% free live stream presentation. On Saturday, October 31st, from 1 until 5, it's Carving Candy at the Havre Grace Decoy Museum. Carve or paint a pumpkin with a decoy carver. Registration will be required. Each session involves carving and or painting a pumpkin and touring the museum to look for the hidden rubber ducks for candy. Social distancing, mask, and hand washing will be required. Please register at decoymuseum.com. Also from 1 until 5 on Saturday, just around the corner from the Decoy Museum, come celebrate Halloween at the Halloween Tales and Treat Pet Fest at the Concord Point Lighthouse. A costume pet parade with awards for various costume categories at 3 o'clock will be going on. There's a $1 entry fee per pet. There will also be a dog treat raffle and kids' activities and crafts. For more information, call 410-939-3213 or email them at director@concordpointlighthouse.org. They ask that all attendees bring masks and wear them when unable to maintain appropriate social distancing. Time to check out the numerous virtual programs being offered by the Havre Grace Arts Collective. During these unprecedented times requiring social distancing, the collective offers dinner and a show where one can interact with performers, art projects that offer free online teaching of various art forms to our kids and teens, and read-alongs for our youth. You owe it to yourself and your family to check out the website for more information on these and other future events at hdgoperahouse.org. And what better way to enjoy the great outdoors in a COVID-friendly manner and take in the beautiful fall colors than to take the Great Outdoors Challenge, sponsored by the Havre Grace Green Team. The Green Team challenges you to explore our history and environment through walking, paddling, and biking our many trails and waterways. Challenge yourself, friends, and family to complete one or more of the 3 legs of the challenge: the battle, the decoy, or the graw. For more information and equipment rental resources, visit hdggreenteam.org/our-projects/the-great-outdoors. Havre Haunts is underway every Friday and Saturday in October. Take a guided ghostly walking tour of historic Havre Grace. Learn about ghosts that still walk our streets and haunt many of our buildings. Tours are approximately 1.5 hours in duration and begin at Concord Point Coffee, rain or shine. Departure is promptly at 7 p.m. For more information, stop by Concord Point Coffee or go to their website, havrehaunts.com, or call 443-243-5836. Come visit our farmers market at Hutchins Park every Saturday between 8:30 and noon. It's time to enjoy the fall harvest. On Saturday, October 31st, the vendors at the farmers market will be celebrating Halloween with mini pumpkin painting and, of course, other treats for the children. There isn't many Saturdays remaining until the market closes in mid-November. Stock up on your winter provisions: soaps, meats, cheeses, oils, and, of course, spirits. How appropriate for Halloween, right? And a friendly reminder that daylight saving time ends on Sunday, November 1st. Remember to turn your clocks back an hour. So if you missed any of the information or all of the information that I just presented this evening, and for more information that I didn't cover, please visit our websites, havregracemd.gov, explorehavregrace.com, and hdgoperahouse.org. And that will conclude my remarks regarding special events this evening.
Thank you very much, Mr. Seipel. Appreciate all the updates and comments. We're going to go now to the Director of Planning, Mr. Shane Grimm.
And in his absence, I will say Shane got called away late this evening after his presentation earlier. There will be a Planning Commission meeting on Monday, October the 26th, in this here council chambers, beginning at 6:30. The purpose of the meeting is to review a conditional use for a new dwelling at 300 Market Street and also discuss the draft site plan ordinance. And that's all the comments from the Department of Planning tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Seipel. Appreciate it. I'm going to call forward Ms. Erica Quizmary Sturgill, the Director of Economic Development. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. It's so difficult to follow Patrick with all those sound effects and voices, but I'll give it a go. This week is Maryland Economic Development Week and Business Appreciation Week. So we will be presenting certificates to a number of our businesses, the ones that opened up within the past year, as well as the businesses that are celebrating their anniversaries. We have 20 years for Big House Signs, 25 for Bahuka's Antique Mall and Beer Museum, or a quarter century, and a 90th anniversary for Gold's Bakery. So we'll be presenting those certificates. In normal years, we do a presentation, we go in, we bring large groups of people with us to keep our businesses and their clients safe. I'll just go in personally and bring the certificates. I wanted to thank Council President Glenn and the mayor for signing those certificates, as well as Warren Hartenstein, our chairman of the Economic Development Advisory Board. I'll be presenting them this week in the hopes that we'll retain that list and hopefully be able to do something more fitting in the next year. So we have a number of things that are going on, and I'm very happy to report to you that the very greatly anticipated Abbey Burger at 226 North Washington Street, known as the Elizabeth Rogers House historically, or for the mid-century modernist, Reed's store, will be opening in January of 2021. They've given me a date. for the opening. Just down the street from them at 204 North Washington Street, the old Walton hardware store will be opening, it is very much hope, at the end of October as Brookbend Interiors under Stephen Jennings and John Palmer. You can visit brookbendinteriors.com to find out a bit more about their very popular store. They have one in Elkton, one in Northeast, and this will be their first store in Harford County. They've chosen Havre de Grace, and we think they chose quite wisely. Although Price's Crab House on Water Street has not been vacant as long as Walton's Hardware, we've all eagerly awaited a new tenant for the Waterview restaurant. We're gratified that we have a restaurant going in with Havre de Grace roots. Dord and Teresa Rydell Ray are bringing steamed crabs, seafood, and more to the familiar location at 650 Water Street. They've called their restaurant Water Street Seafood. They've been mainstays of Harford's culinary scene, previously owned Blazin' Ray's Pit Beef, Sweet Devotion Cupcakes, and ran the Lunchbox Deli on APG prior to the COVID shutdown. They're doing yeoman's labor right now to get that building ready. Believe me, you will not recognize the interior when you get the opportunity to go in, but they are pushing very strongly to open this year. They'd like to be open by the end of the month, but I'm going to go with opening this year because they are doing an amazing amount of work. We were able to complete a number of grants as well through the Community Legacy Program in the Department of Housing and Community Development. But lastly, as you had said, Mayor Martin, that Hopkins Farm Brewery opened this summer and has been a very welcome addition to the community. And when they opened, you challenged me last year and challenged economic development to secure a brewery in town limits. I am able to report a lease was signed on October 5th for 101 North Washington Street alongside La Cucina for our first microbrewery in the city limits of Havre de Grace. They will be called Battery Island Brewing Company, named after Fishing Battery Island, or for the boaters here, FBI. They're renovating it now. They plan to start pouring with their grand opening on St. Patrick's Day, March 17th, 2021. We've got our brewery, Mr. Mayor.
That's good news. That's well done. Thank you.
Very happy.
Glad to hear that. Thank you for the report.
Absolutely.
Council, any questions for Ms. Quisenberry? Thank you so much. We appreciate the
Absolutely.
update. I'd like to call forward Mr. George DeHorty, our Director of Finance. Good evening, Mr. Horty.
First, thank you for the approval of the budget amendment. The planned work will be moving forward, and hopefully by next voting season, we could be well underway to having this thing up and running and ready to go. The financial condition of the city currently. The general fund, the fund balance is sitting at a little over $8.3 million, which is about $1.5 million ahead of where we thought we'd be at this time. As I've reported to you on several of the prior reports, the lion's share of that can be attributed to finishing the year with almost $1.28 million due to slowdown in our spending and other restrictions that the COVID placed. It had a very slowdown effect on how we finished the year in terms of spending, and especially for the general fund, since the taxes come in early in the year, that result was really terrific. Salaries and benefits continue to run below budget expectations by about $350,000, being very deliberate in replacing folks, especially during this slow period, and a really good call that the healthcare claims are down so far, so that means people are being careful, and that's always important during the COVID. The real property taxes are running about $165,000 over what we estimated with the constant yield. And again, it looks like we can attribute that to sales of existing homes as well as the pickup we've seen recently in new development. And while it's not a lot, the highway user fees are still expected to be below budget, but the latest estimate we got from State Highway just last week was improved by $20,000. So small tick in the right direction. It's still 63 down, but it's better than 83 down. The Water and Sewer Fund 9 is sitting at just under $1.4 million. It's increased $1 million for the year. The operating profit has been about $1.2 million. We've spent, and we've collected a little over $700,000 in capital fees, And between debt service and capital projects, we've spent a little over $850,000 to account for the increase. The Marina Fund, the fund balance is just shy of $800,000. While it has decreased $30,000 for the year, most of that can be attributed to fuel purchasing. And as a comparison, last year at this time, it had actually decreased $60,000. So we're still, the slowdown of spending is impacting that in a positive way as well. And those are the current situations of the three major funds, sir. Any questions?
Any questions, council, for Mr. Doherty? Mr. Doherty, thank you very much for your time. Thanks for your
Thank you,
report.
sir.
Thank
Thank
you. I'd like to call forward Mr. Tim Whitty, Director of Public Works. Good evening, Mr. Whitty.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Run down a few things. I want to thank you for a budget amendment for the marina. It's definitely something that has to be done with the tanks. It's actually replacing the tanks, lines, and the dispensers as well. The dispensers are malfunctioning, and they're at a point in age where they're getting tough to repair and recalibrate. So we're definitely looking forward to that and getting that project undergoing. I actually kind of hedged my bets here a little bit and went out there and issued a notice to proceed with the engineer this afternoon. So we're moving forward with that. Another thing Stephanie did 2 weeks ago, we're really looking at, again with the marina, is the dredging of the marina needs to be done again. Soundings, we've lost in a short amount of time about 2 to 3 feet of sediment has redeposited itself back in the channels. So we initiated the engineering for $150,000 to do the engineering, which was the grant that Stephanie put in to DNR last week. And then following up, once we get the engineering approved, we're going in for $800,000 grant to dredge at the marina. The difference, I think we were at like $600,000 last time, but this time we actually have to do the slips. So we're going to do the slips, the channels in between the piers, and then the main channel in and out. Water Street, we were actually advertising the permit for the. There's 2 phases of Water Street out. There's there's the living shoreline, which is in permit review, and then there's another project we're doing where we're putting in a dual boat ramp in that old, I guess where the old dock is. We're utilizing that, kind of save some money on excavation, so we're utilizing that, turning it into a dual boat ramp. And then we're putting in a parking area, and we're going to try to coordinate this with the living shoreline. But so we're on a balancing act, but that's $875,000 for the boat ramp, that grant, $150,000 for the parking lot it's going to have for the trailer parking, and then another $150,000 which will cover the soft launches for kayaks, as well as the sidewalk, the Lafayette Trail sidewalk. We're going to kind of extend it all the way through on Water Street. So it comes in perfect timing, I guess, with the opening of that restaurant, kind of looking and start improving that land in that area. Definitely, it'll be a nice thing for the folks to sort of move more towards the north of the city and relieve Tidings Marina of some overcrowding at the boat ramp. We get about $4,000 or 5,000 launches a year at the Tidings, so it's used pretty heavily. Chapel Road, I've had to break that project down into a couple phases. Obviously, I had the bridge engineering completed, but I have to do 2 things before I can start the bridge construction. One is relocate the water line, and then the other is relocate the gas line that is directly under the old bridge. BG&E is working on developing the plan for the gas line relocation, and we sent out a proposal to engineering for the relocation of about 125 feet of water line to get it out of the construction area. And we had the proposal, we have the low bidder, and I'm going to issue a notice to proceed this week towards that. And coming back with a few things, just finally, just on the capital project side,
Just give you a heads up, we're working on the water line from Aberdeen to Havre de Grace. Plans are at 90%. We have soil conservation plan approval. I just received comments from Maryland Department of Transportation and their comments are very minor to get the plan approved to be able to utilize their right-of-way to put the water line in. And then I'm still waiting on, there's a little bit of, I'm not quite sure, but we're working on to determine whether or not I need an MDE approval. Back in the day, I've under the impression that it was 12-inch size diameter water line and larger required MDE approval. The engineer checked and said that he believes it's 15-inch and higher, so we're going to get that confirmed as to whether or not we have to go through MDE review process. If not, we're pretty close to getting everything wrapped up and start moving towards construction. John's, the two projects, the sewer replacements at Commerce and St. John's, or Commerce and John's Street. That project is, we had the CT wide, or CTTV for Commerce Street. We're going to meet with them, actually coming trying to set up a meeting next week to go over the footage to see whether or not we can basically just line the pipe, or we have to do construction based on how bad the pipe is, whether or not we have to do construction, excavate, and just lay the pipe. So we're looking at that process of pipe bursting versus excavation, and we'll make that determination with the CCTV camera footage. Green and Wilson Street, those two water line projects are engineering is, they're going to start the engineering. We did the survey work last week. They're going to start the engineering on that. The pump station and force main at the National Guard, survey work's done, geotech work's done. They're going to have 50% engineering plans to me in about 3 weeks. And then finally, Old Bay Lane. We've had a couple delays with the the National Guard with reviewing the concept plan. They're supposed to get back to me with a final layout. Once that's done, we're hoping to get the survey work started by late this week, if we can get a response back and approval of the concept plan. That's pretty much all I have right now. Do you have any questions?
Council, do you have any questions for Mr. Woody? You got a lot going on, Mr. Woody, and I know you've been a busy man every time.
All right. Thank you. Have
all
a
good
night.
stuff. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'd like to call forward the Chief of Police. Good evening, Chief Walter.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. I just once again want to remind everybody that this Saturday, the 24th of October, is the National Drug Take Back. So if you have any unused or outdated medications, you can drop them off at our police station. The hours are between 10 in the morning and 2 in the afternoon. The only thing we ask is that if you have any kind of needles, we do not dispose of those. So please do not put them in there. We really do ask that you don't do that. The other locations are the county office building located at 220 South Main Street in Bel Air. Also the Bel Air Police Department on 39 North Hickory Avenue. And Wegmans is also participating. They're at 21 Wegman Boulevard by Constant Friendship, or around that area. So please, now's a great time. We've got plenty of time with COVID. You can go through all of your stuff and empty out anything that you no longer need. The other thing is, I don't want to talk too much about Halloween because I know Mr. Seipel did an outstanding job. Thank you. I do want to make a comment though about the masks. If you do have little ones and they are going to go trick-or-treating or go to all of the different events that we obviously have going on here in Havre de Grace, which is phenomenal, do not buy a store purchase mask. Use a regular face covering mask, or if you are going to buy a store purchase one, you also need a regular face covering mask as well, because the store purchase one is not sufficient when it comes to the COVID-19 virus. We'd strongly suggest so that you do something, maybe do something artistic with a face covering mask as opposed to the store purchase one. Because with all of those masks, we don't want the kids not to be able to see out of the eye sockets of the mask. So that's really, really important. The last thing that I want to talk about is I really want to remind people that if they are the victim of a crime, please report it to us right away. I've seen different Facebook posts where people said that they've had something stolen out of their garage or a bicycle or that type of thing, and they don't call us. They'll talk amongst themselves on Facebook, but we really do need you to contact us. It's extremely, extremely important because in many instances, we are able to catch someone. I'm not saying in every single time, but the officers are pretty good at this. And then they find lots of different pieces of property, but we have no idea who it belongs to. So please, please, even if you think it's, it's kind of trivial or it's not that big of a deal or, that piece of equipment was kind of broken down, it doesn't matter. Let us know. It's extremely important to let us know. That way we can also, because, it might give us a clue to who is doing it or it might be connected to another case. So again, please make sure that you do call us as soon as possible. And that would be it, sir.
Wonderful. Thank you, Chief. Anybody have a question for Chief Walter? Thank you. Have a great evening. Thank you for the
Thank you,
update.
folks.
We're going to move on to the next item, business from the mayor's office. Quick update on the COVID numbers for 21078. So far, we ended September with 46 new cases in our zip code. As of October 19th, there are 24 new cases. That takes the total number of COVID-19 cases in the 21078 zip code to 207 cases since March. So, yeah, in the grand scheme of things, like I said, it's not, I wouldn't call that like a pandemic, but, it is in our city, and just be careful, having a grace. Remember the important 3 principles of washing your hands, wearing a face mask, and social distancing. Just do the best you can. We don't want to see anybody get sick. I want to thank the Lock House organization, the executive director, Joanne Healy, the president and the board members, and Mr. Bob McGee, as well as Mr. Joe Kay, and all the other people who attended the 50th anniversary event of the Lock House on Saturday. 50 years, 1970. The Susquehanna Museum of the Lock House was founded to preserve the lock and the Lock House. And I know a lot of people are very familiar with it. Some people might not be, but if you are not very familiar with the Lock House and you're new to Havre de Grace, or you're watching this broadcast somewhere else in the county, the Lock House was the most expensive federally funded project in the United States of America up to 1835. And it's just a hair under 40 miles long up through Pennsylvania. And I often say that the Lock House Canal made Havre de Grace a bona fide port city. And when you're a port city and you have commerce and trade with ships and boats coming from all over, you're obviously a city of diversity. And usually, you're a city that is on the cutting edge of the newest trend. And the Lock House has had a huge impact on the city of Havre de Grace ever since it opened in the 1830s. So that history would have been gone by the wayside if it hasn't been for a group of people who founded the museum organization 50 years ago. So if you have not been to the Lock House lately, I suggest you take a trip down to the Lock House off of Erie Street, and you'll see it up there, and it looks beautiful. The city's done a lot of landscaping at the Lock House and removed a lot of brush along the waterfront to open up the landscape view. And if you really love the Lock House, I would be so proud if anybody wants to help out and volunteer at the Lock House. They could always use help. So thank you, everybody, for 50 years of preserving our history and our heritage in the city of Havre de Grace. Just to reiterate, Halloween's around the corner, and Halloween is a go in the city of Havre de Grace. Mr. Seipold mentioned it, the police chief mentioned it, so I'm not going to get into the details again. Just real simple, ladies and gentlemen, Halloween is always voluntary. It's not mandatory. And if you do not wish to participate as a candy giver, just turn your porch lights off, and if you want to participate, turn your porch light on. And there's all kind of ways people suggest maybe this year we could just make things a little safer. I live in a court, and I know all the families in my court said, hey, why don't we just hang out in the court and put a big table up and let the kids come up to the table and get pre-bagged candy or something like that, rather than
God.
rather than everybody, you know, all the kids sticking their hand in a candy bowl. I mean, there's all kind of ways we can make it safe for us, make it safe for the kids, keep the candy as sterile as possible until they eat it. You know, like I said, you know, but earlier, the kids have been through a lot this year. Poor kids haven't even been to school yet this year, so we don't want to. They've had a lot of stuff taken away from them. So for the kids who want to be trick or treat and dress up, you know, we're going to have Halloween for them this year and see how it works out. We want everybody to be safe, and we believe it's possible. Oyster Feast. We were able so far under the governor's current guidelines of you know, of food services and banquet gatherings. Of all the events we had to cancel in the city this year, we can hold the Oyster Festival at the community center and still be in complete compliance with the governor's current COVID guidelines. As you know, the Oyster Festival is all you can eat oysters, raw oysters, fried oysters, stewed oysters, steamed oysters, and a lot of other food, and it's just a great event. It's been going on for several years now. Tickets are $65. It's a really good deal if you like oysters and seafood. And $15, remember this, $15 of every ticket sold goes to the nonprofit organization that sells the ticket. So if the Havre Grace Independence Day Committee sells 10 tickets, they get $150 profit for selling those tickets. So it's easy to go to the city website. You can go to Explore Havre Grace if you want on Facebook page or city website, and you can find where to purchase tickets. And when you actually click on the website, you can do a drop-down box to how many tickets you want, and you can choose the participating nonprofit. Now remember, your favorite nonprofit has to be a participating nonprofit. There's some that haven't signed up yet for it, but there's a bunch that have. Okay, so I'm sure you'll find a nonprofit in there that you can support. So the date is November 21st. It's going to be the Saturday before Thanksgiving. And it's going to be at the community center, and we'll have several large tents set up outside so we can spread people out very distantly and safely. And it'll still be buffet style, but it'll be with the plexiglass up, and they'll serve the food rather than everybody touching the food utensils and things. So it'll be in compliance, and it'll be safe. The only way I think it might be canceled is if we have a massive, new wave of COVID virus. We wouldn't want anybody to get sick. But if things stay the way they are, we believe that we can have this community nonprofit event, fundraising event, and stay and keep everybody safe and be in compliance with the governor's orders. So the only thing different this year, other than COVID, is we're only selling the tickets in tables of 4, 5, or 6. We're not selling individual tickets, only because we want to keep people with their, the word is pod, keep people with their pod. If you come with 4 people in a car, we like to keep everybody at the same table. So just to let everybody know, when you click on, you got to buy 4 tickets, 5 tickets, or 6 tickets. So anyway, that's the only thing different. But it's always good to have friends at Oyster Feast. Now, back by top popular demand, Dumpster Day. I repeat, Dumpster Day is coming for everybody who's been saving their trash in the city of Havre Grace. The famous Havre Grace Dumpster Day will be this Saturday before Thanksgiving, same day as the Oyster Feast, and all kind of stuff going on that day. It will be 8 o'clock in the morning till 12 o'clock, first come, first serve. We'll have about 10 huge roll-off dumpsters down on Wilson Street off of Seneca Avenue, where it was located last time. And we will be taking just regular old household trash. If you got some old toys, stuff sitting under your deck you've been waiting to get rid of for a while. We will not be taking any mattresses this time, though. You all got us last time on the mattresses. We didn't realize it, but we were taking mattresses, and we filled up like 4 roll-offs with mattresses, and the problem is they don't crush. We can't compact them. So, but we do have directions on our city website where you can take your mattresses with the county dump. But we'll take household trash, and for more information on the details, please go to the City of Havre de Grace website for the dumpster day. Again, it's going to be November 21st, 8 in the morning till 12 o'clock. First come, first serve. Once the dumpsters are full, we'll have to pack it up, but we'll have 10 dumpsters. Just make sure though that you bring a your driver's license that proves that you're a Havre de Grace resident, because this is a service for Havre de Grace tax-paying citizens and residential citizens. We are not in the business of accommodating landlords cleaning out their rental properties and filling up half our dumpsters. That's a business, and you should take your trash to the dump, okay? But if you are a Havre de Grace resident and you have some trash sitting around the house you want to get rid of that's too large to put out front, come on down and just bring your driver's license with you. A reminder that the election's coming up. First Tuesday in November, the general election. And this year, many of you probably noticed already, but this year, if you're voting in person, there's only one place to vote in Havre de Grace. And all voting will be at the former Havre de Grace High School Gym Auditorium on Congress Avenue. I repeat, all voting will be at the former Havre de Grace High School Gym Auditorium, not the new one, the old one. So I know some people that live up in Grace Harbor and all that stuff, they're used to voting in Meadowville. There's only going to be one place in Havre de Grace this year. That's the high school auditorium gymnasium. So I just want everybody to know that, okay? If you're doing in-person voting. Early voting, there's several locations in Harford County for early voting. I think the closest one to us is in Aberdeen at the Activity Center, I believe. But there's no early voting locations in Havre de Grace. But when you vote in Havre de Grace on Election Day, it's going to be at the Havre de Grace, old Havre de Grace Auditorium. And finally, you've probably seen in the news, the Harford County court systems have opened up for business again, and they've been doing jury selections. I know there's a very high-profile case that they're selecting jurors for currently. Even the court system has been affected by COVID. It's difficult to get 100 jurors for a possible selection in a small room when we have to comply with COVID guidelines. So the court system of Harford County was in need of a place to select jurors where they could safely have citizens come and go through the whole questioning process for jury selection and do it safely so they could spread out for COVID. And so the City of Havre de Grace offered the community center to the Harford County Circuit Court, where they will be conducting juror selections for the next couple months at least, until the COVID metrics have improved. But they are tenants, and they're renting the community center during the day. And so I just want to let everybody know that Havre de Grace is happy to help the court system out, so justice can continue on and jury selection can happen. Sorry if you have jury selection duty, but what I mean is the court system will go on. So with that said, I want to thank everybody for your time. Thank the council members for all your support tonight on the various ordinances and events. And I will move on to the comments from the council. We'll start with Councilmember Boyer.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of things real quick. I want to thank everyone who volunteered to serve on the commissions, and I want to encourage others, if you're interested, to please put your names in and make it known that you want to serve our community. I've said it before and I'll say it again. We need better diversity on our commissions, and part of that is people need to stand up, come forward and volunteer. It's also important for us to look for people within the community and pull them forward and encourage them to volunteer. So anything that everyone can do, especially members of the council, please. I think this is extremely important, and I think we're a disservice if we continue on this path. The Cultural Exchange Commission on October 21st will meet via Zoom. You can get all the details about it from the city website. We'll meet at 6:30 p.m. or 6 p.m. Street and Traffic Safety will also meet. They'll meet on the 26th of October at 6 p.m. I want to encourage everyone who shops regularly at Weiss to consider giving your points to the Thanksgiving project, Thanksgiving dinner project. Weiss has said that they will store, or they will, and anybody who donates their turkey to the Thanksgiving project, they'll hold on to them. And then that'll be a way for us to get additional turkeys for the Thanksgiving meals. An incredible amount of turkeys. I can't forget what the number is. It's like around 100 turkeys are required in order to feed our community. So anything you can do, if you could donate your points, it's very much appreciated. And finally, I want to encourage everyone, after you get done carving your pumpkins into all different kinds of fun, wacky faces or kitty cat faces or whatever you do for your carving, please consider taking them to the compost bins at Hutchins Park for disposal when you're done. It's a great way to prevent stuff going into our landfills that can be used better elsewhere for compost. So please consider doing that. They're located down at Hutchins Park. It's a metal enclosure, fenced enclosure with 4 bins in it. All you have to do is open up the bin and throw it in. It's really that simple. And you'll be doing a lot to serve our environment. And with that, I appreciate it. Thank you all, and I hope you have a wonderful Halloween.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Boyer. Good evening, Councilmember Zinner.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council, citizens. Thank you. I don't have too much to talk about this evening, but I do want to thank the 4 people who were sworn in this evening for their newly appointed positions on the 2 commissions, Economic Development and the Historic Preservation Commission. I also want to mention some of the things that the mayor talked about. And first, was the 50th anniversary of the Lock House this past weekend. It was a lovely, lovely day and a great event. The speakers talked about the past, the present, and what's in store for the future. But I haven't been there for a little while, or if I had been, it was just a quick stop to look at something or do something and go on my way. And I was really taken by the beautiful vista and the grounds themselves. And it's just remarkable what's been done over time, and just a beautiful, beautiful, relaxing setting. So if you have an opportunity to get out and you're tired of being home and you just want to do something restful or meditate or just take a peaceful walk, that's certainly the spot to be. And I just look forward to the North Park area growing over time, maybe another wedding venue or whatever, but where some more activities can be done, and also just to enjoy the scenery and the vista. The other thing I want to talk about, well, the census is over. And by surprise, it was cut short a little bit. And that I called it Groundhog Day because every time I spoke, it seemed like the date was changing. But at any rate, Maryland made a very good showing. The governor sent out a press release, and the state of Maryland came in 9th. Now, if you were to look at the national list, it looks like almost every state came in at 99.9%, and that's what we did. But they classify it based on self-responses. So we were 9th based on the percentage of self-responses. They collected information from 2.2 million households, so the total number is still not known in terms of residents in those households. But each person is worth $1,825 per person per year to the state from the federal government for food programs, for education, for hospitals, for education. So it was very worthwhile, and I want to thank everyone who participated. We came in 34th in the state with a total response of 75.8, which is an improvement from 2010, where we only were able to get 71.9%. So I think that's a great showing, and I want to thank everyone for participating. I also wanted to talk a little bit about voting. The registration deadline is over. So if you have not registered to vote in this election, you will not be able to vote. Mail-in ballot deadline, however, is October 20th, which is tomorrow. So if you need a mail-in ballot, you have to contact the Board of Elections to send that to you. And then it needs to be postmarked by November 3rd or dropped off at one of the official ballot boxes. So when I spoke the last time, I talked about if you were getting more than one ballot at your home, to be careful opening the envelope, make sure that the barcodes match and that you don't inadvertently put one ballot of someone in your household who signed it appropriately and your ballot after it's been signed appropriately in the wrong envelope. So just a reminder to think about that. Early voting, as the mayor said, is October 26th through November 2nd. Aberdeen Activity Center, Edgewood Rec Center, Jarrettsville Fire Hall, and McFall Activity Center are all early voting sites. And I think that's pretty much it for me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Zenner. Thank you. Councilmember Robertson, good evening.
Good evening again, Mr. Mayor, fellow council members, staff, ladies and gentlemen here and at home. Just a couple things to put out. First of all, Mr. Mayor, I'm very glad that you touched on the voting center. I know I've gotten that question a few times from residents, and you know, it's a little different than in years past. So just to reiterate what the mayor said, voting will take place on Election Day at 500 Congress. So that's the old high school auditorium. And also early voting will take place October 26th through November 2nd from 7 in the morning till 8 o'clock at night. And the closest place to us here in Havre de Grace is the Aberdeen Community Center at 7 Franklin Street in Aberdeen, 21001. Again, October 26th through November 2nd, 07 to 2000 Aberdeen Community Center, 7 Franklin Street in Aberdeen. I also want to echo my fellow council members in congratulating our new appointees. It's always good when there's fresh blood to be drained by serving on these committees and commissions and boards, so we really appreciate that. The city runs on volunteers, and if you don't believe me, ask any of them. Also, I want to make mention that the second and third Saturdays at the American Legion is beef brisket. I mean, pit beef, pit ham, pit turkey. And that usually lasts from, I think, 10 in the morning till 1. So just head on down there. And Mr. Mayor, that is, oh, one more thing. Here we go. The Havre de Grace Economic Development Advisory Board, Mr. Wayner, will be meeting Wednesday, October 21st from 4 to 6 p.m. at the Cultural Center at the Havre de Grace Opera House. The board will adjourn to break into small work groups and discuss items from the strategic initiatives. One more thing I do want to mention is, you know, this is obviously an election year, and this is the second to the last council meeting before the election takes place. I just want to remind folks, I know how bitter it is out there and how much we all want to support our candidates and, you know, maybe have disdain for the other candidate, unlike any year that I think I've seen in my short life. But I'll just remind folks to be respectful. You know, we don't all have to agree on everything. You see someone out there supporting their candidate, there's no reason to yell obscenities at them. You know, have a little more class, a little more tact. You support yours, they support theirs. It's America, we're supposed to do that, we have that right. So just, yeah, keep it classy, Havre de Grace.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Robertson. Good evening, Councilmember Martin.
Hey, Mr. Mayor, Council, this time I'm going to keep it very short. I want to thank the council, Mr. Mayor, and your administrative staff for the support, the prayers, thoughts, and condolences on the loss of my father-in-law. My wife appreciates it, and so does my mother-in-law, the fact that everyone has reached out to them. So with that, I'll conclude tonight with a thank you to everyone from Havre de Grace and friends.
Thank you very much, Councilman Martin. Thank you for your words. Good evening, Councilmember Ringsacker.
Mr. Mayor, Council, as mentioned before, we do have a Planning Commission meeting on the 26th here in this room at 6:30, and we have a Planning Committee meeting. Councilman Robertson and Councilwoman Boyer, on Thursday at 5:30 here also in the council chambers. I did get to go to the Lock House this weekend as well. I was very happy that I wore a warm jacket because once that sun started going down, it got kind of cold. When I first moved to Havre Grace years and years ago, I spent most of my free time down there at the Lock House, either swimming in the water or fishing off the piers, and I spent an awful lot of time there. One thing I didn't see when I was growing up was black bears, which recently been noted to be on Joe K Trail in North Park. Now, these are wild bears. These are not the tame bears you see in Ukraine, riding around on little bikes or something. They're wild animals. You got to stay away from them. Just be careful when you're out there. Make lots of noise. This time of year in early spring, you tend to see a diversity of wildlife as more animals move because of the seasons. So they're looking for a home. They're just trying to stay out of your way, so stay out of theirs. And with that, Mr. Mayor, thank you so much.
Thank you very much for your words, Councilmember Ringsacker. Council President, good evening.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and fellow council members. First off, thanks to all the volunteers who stepped up to the plate tonight to serve. As we've said many, many times before, our volunteers are our true unsung heroes. And Jason, you hit the nail on the head. It's always good to get some fresh blood. I, too, attended the celebration for the 50th anniversary of the Lock House. Special thanks to Joanne Healy, Bob McGee, and all the countless volunteers who have truly made the Lock House a true attraction for the city that we are all so proud to call home. Despite COVID-19, the replacement school for Havre Grace continues to move forward, evidenced by the fact that they've started demolition for the old middle school. I gotta say, you can't help but get excited. Congratulations also goes out to Jalen Day, who just recently signed a letter of intent to attend Washington and Lee University in Lexington, Virginia next year. Jalen has been a two-sport standout for Havre Grace High School in both football and track, and plans to do both at Washington and Lee next year. Warrior proud. I want to send out congratulations to my son Sean, who was recently promoted by the Air Force Reserves this past weekend. He is now a tech sergeant. Sean, I'm so proud of you. Last but certainly not least, Disney has a brand new movie entitled Clouds. Now I know you're all saying, what's the council president doing promoting a Disney movie? But the reason being is this is about a young man who at 14 years old was diagnosed with a rare form of bone cancer, and approaching his senior year was told he had less than a year to live. Despite this terrible diagnosis, he made the most of his remaining days as a songwriter and musician. He passed away in 2013, 17 days after his 18th birthday. Prior to his death, he recorded a song entitled Clouds about his ongoing battle with cancer. And he sent a strong message of hope, faith, and triumph in the face of adversity. And I talk about this because the timing couldn't be better, as so many people are experiencing loss and grief associated with COVID-19. He touched the lives of many, to include me. His story served as my inspiration as I fought my battle with prostate cancer. Through his story, I maintained a positive outlook and coined the phrase, I got this. It reinforces that we are all so fortunate to have all the freedoms we have, and no matter how bad a day may seem, from time to time, we have to think how tough it would be to walk in the shoes of those who have been given a terminal diagnosis. Therefore, I encourage each of you to focus on the positive things in life, not the negative ones. More importantly, let's live our lives with honesty, integrity, and respect for one another. And if we all do that, I assure you, this country will be a much better place to call home. God bless America and be safe.
Thank you very much for your comments, Council President. We're going to move on to item number 19, which is comments from citizens. This is the part of the council meeting. If you have any city business that's not on the agenda, please raise your hand and be recognized. Fair enough. Council, have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by the council president, second by Councilman Ringsacker. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion to adjourn, carry 6-0 in the affirmative. The time is 8:59. Meeting is now over. Thank you very much, everybody, and be safe, Havre de Grace. Thank you.